r/NoSleep. Posted by u/Theeaglestrikes. Every 20 years, a black rainbow hangs over my town. For most people, a rainbow embodies hope. For the residents of my derelict seaside hometown, however, a rainbow invites only fear, namely, fear that it might drain of color at any moment. And, every 20 years, it does. The townsfolk call it the Blackbow, an ominous arch that paints the sky, blotting the sun for 7 days. And the events that transpire are always unspeakably dreadful. You never see the phenomenon in national news. And it seems to be a self-contained event, something only the townsfolk can see, anyhow. But even if we were to tell outsiders, who would believe our story? A rainbow cannot be black or white. And the Blackbow is not really a rainbow. In late November of 2003, on the cusp of winter, I was a 14-year-old boy who was totally oblivious to the solemn faces of older townsfolk, faces that I recall had been increasingly agitated with every passing month. Mum's being so moody. For the whole of December, we're going to stay with Grandma in London, Ronnie huffed. I wanted to go to Anna's Christmas party with you guys. This blows. So does your mom, Alex said. I giggled, and Ronnie kicked Alex in the shin. You're getting the whole month off school? I gasped. Ronnie shrugged. Guess so. Then why are you complaining? I laughed. If it makes you feel any better, my parents have been arguing a lot lately, Alex said. Dad said I need to see a therapist. They think I have depression. Ronnie and I awkwardly shuffled our feet, eyeing the ground. All I could think to say was, shall we go to the ditch to take your mind off it? And Alex, being a young boy who had clearly mastered the art of masking his pain with comedy, eagerly nodded his head. Sounds good, Charlie, he said. So, we ran through the local park to the ditch, a chasm that had become a perilous playground for children in our town. And it was always busy. Hey, Ronnie. Anna called. Ronnie blushed and waved at his crush, who was swinging on a tire haphazardly tied to a tree branch. Her nearby friends giggled, and Alex pursed his lips, making smooching noises. I snorted, and Ronnie sighed. Will you guys shut up? Our blushing friend grunted. You know why I was so bothered about that party? I was gonna ask her out. But... A deafening crack sounded, and a chill coursed through the air, accompanied by an aggressive whistling noise. Is it about to rain? Anna shouted. Nobody answered. Our eyes were fixated on the shape that was forming above us. A colorless arch, larger than any rainbow I'd ever seen, tore through the clouds. I waited for red, orange, yellow, or any color to appear. It didn't. There was only a towering black arch. An unstable monolith, it vibrated as if it were threatening to disintegrate at any moment. What is that? Alex whispered. I don't know, I gulped. Anna and her friends began to walk cautiously away from the ditch. She waved nervously at Ronnie, and he smiled back before returning his gaze to the unnatural thing above us. And then his phone started ringing. Hello? He said. Mom, what do you mean? Yes, I'm just at the ditch. What? I'll come home in. Why? But Okay, I'm coming home now. Flustered, Ronnie angrily thrust his flip phone back into his pocket. I have to go home, he said. Mom says we're packing and going to Grandma's right now. I don't think our teachers are gonna like that, but... I pointed at the black rainbow. Is that why she's worried? Yeah, I've got to go, guys. She said she'll pack for me, but I don't want her to forget my Xbox. I guess I'll, see you after Christmas, Ronnie sighed, running off before we could say anything. Jammy Dodger, Alex huffed. Fancy a go on the tire, seeing as it's free? Alex, don't you care that something's wrong with the sky? I asked. He shrugged. It's a rainbow. It's black. I don't like this. I think we should go home too, I said. Alex sighed, hanging his head dejectedly as we walked away from the ditch. And it was when we strolled through the park gates, which were swinging ferociously in the wailing wind, that we first started to notice things had changed on the ground, not just in the sky. It must have been early afternoon, but the rainbow had blackened the world beneath it. Lampposts had sprung to life. A car soared past at a frightful speed, swerving from side to side, whilst blinding us with full-beam headlights. Idiot, I grumbled. As we followed the main road towards the town hall, the insanity only seemed to worsen. The piercing pitch of the wind had veiled the ruckus at first, but we started to discern the cries of townspeople. More cars hurtled past. That was when the rain began to fall. Black rain. so thick and heavy that it shrouded what little visibility remained in the town. It started to collect on the bulbs of lampposts and the headlights of cars, gradually easing the world into a deeper realm of darkness. And each pellet of rain felt as if it might puncture my skin. There was an ill-meaning sharpness to it. An inescapable weight. "What is this?" Alex asked, nervously eyeballing the black, stodgy substance collecting in his palms. "I don't know," I said, pulling my hood up. "But I think we need to go home and check that our parents are okay, before we struggle to even see 2 feet in front of ourselves." "Yeah, I think." Alex started. He was interrupted by the horrifying sound of metal coiling itself around something immovable. And we both snapped our necks around to see, in the thick of the black downpour, a crumpled Prius. It had melded with the town sign in the center square, narrowly missing us. "That looks like Dad's car," Alex cried. I silently shivered on the spot, and it was a great shock to witness the mangled driver's side door creakily swinging open. There was the terrible sound of misshapen metal grinding against misshapen metal. Other than the cacophony of rainfall, it seemed to be the only sound in the empty town center. Every smart soul had fled. From the wreckage, a bloody man fell onto grass caked in colorless sludge, and he supported himself with shaky arms. The dying light scarcely illuminated the figure, but the car, even as a distorted wreckage in the dark, was familiar. It looked like Alex's father. Moments before the world entirely plunged into darkness, we got a good look at his face. But it wasn't a view that answered our burning question. The only remaining feature was his mouth. And when the man parted his lips to scream, that mouth suddenly widened, splitting his head open like a raw egg. "Weak!" he screeched in an inhuman wail. "Dad?" Alex whispered. The rain stopped. It had coated the road and lampposts in a stubbornly sludgy layer of unidentifiable horror. The sky was pitch black. Even the black bow was no longer visible. Pockets of light pierced the blackened, rain-smeared windows of houses. But Alex and I were well and truly in the dark. And all we could hear was the labored breathing of the thing that used to be his father. "We need to run," I whimpered in horror, seizing my friend's arm in a vice-like grip. I could barely see the pavement in front of me, let alone the abomination from the car wreckage. But that was good. It meant he couldn't see us either. I hoped he couldn't see anything, given he only had a mouth. Then again, I could no longer be sure of anything. "He was talking to me," Alex muttered. I ignored my friend, guiding him by the arm through blackened streets. I was grateful for the darkness. It concealed the horrors that we could only hear. "The black bow's early." "Why is it so early?" one man cried, slamming a car door. "Move. He's behind us," a woman replied loudly. "And farther down the road." "Please. Lucy, please," another woman screamed. "You'll hear me now, Mother," a guttural voice shrieked. "He's not my father. And he'll never be my father." The sound of screaming quickly gave way to squelching. My body started to tighten, a new type of fear gripped me. Something beyond primal horror. Whatever was happening, it was beyond anything a person should experience. "He said that to me once," Alex continued. "What?" I asked, absent-mindedly scanning streets, trying to navigate a lightless world. He apologized, but he said men are supposed to be strong, and depression is a sign of weakness," Alex muttered, sniffling. "But then he must have realized that he'd said too much. Or Mom told him off. I don't know. He apologized. Said I needed to see a shrink." "I'm sorry, Alex," I said, guiding us down the road I was certain would lead to my parents' house. "It's him, Alex," he whispered. Just from that word, "weak," I knew it was him. Before I could respond, the sound of a scuffle ahead caused me to stop in my tracks, placing an arm in front of Alex. We could barely see one another, but I held a cautious finger up to my lips. "Ronnie. Please." A girl screamed. "Anna." We could scarcely see them in the darkness, but there were 2 silhouettes in the middle of the road. And as the head of one figure seemed to separate down the middle, I felt a sickness in my gut. "Why won't you just drink, bitch?" the thing snarled. "Ronnie, once. Something's wrong with your... Please let me go," Anna whimpered. "Girls. Leading boys on. Say one thing, but mean another," the creature growled. As Alex and I cautiously waded through the black puddle to the other side of the street, I could faintly distinguish the thing prying open Anna's mouth with its fingers. She struggled and squirmed, likely trying to close her lips, but it was no use. I watched in fright as Ronnie shoveled black sludge from the road into her open mouth. "It'll stop hurting soon," he said in a soft growl. Thank you. That was all I wanted. Alex and I were sobbing as quietly as possible, and I was grateful, yet again, for the cloak of darkness, shielding us from the majority of the horror. But I still saw too much. Far too much. Anna was sobbing too. For half a minute or so. And then her sobs changed into laughter. Or mania. "I fucking hate you," she growled. Thankfully, at that moment, I reached a house with distinctive windows. The glass panes were coated in black rain, but, given the light cast through the murkiness onto our front lawn, the shape of the house was familiar. It had to be my home. And when I bumped into the gate leading onto the front path, I was entirely certain. I let go of Alex's arm for a second. Only a second. "Son." A voice bellowed. I spun around, and I couldn't see Alex anymore. I could hear the faint sound of feet wading through the black puddle. "Alex," I hissed through gritted teeth, not wanting to ingest any fresh droplets of rain that might emerge. "Come on. My house is right." "Go, Charlie," he interrupted, whimpering. "Is that you, insect?" His father's voice roared from the far end of the street. "Crying again?" "I know that isn't you, Dad," Alex called. "It's this thing." "Keep your mouth closed, Alex," I hissed again. Anna giggled. "Nobody likes him at school." "He's always been weak, Mr. Harding," Ronnie chimed in. "The beau said so." "The beau never lies," Alex's father said. "It would make a real man of you, Alex. No more weakness." "Dad, I wanna help you. If we just take you home," Alex said, waiting farther away from me. "Home? This is our home," his father laughed. "Where's Mum?" Alex asked. I wanted to wait after him, but I was afraid. I didn't want to die. I knew, somehow, that Mr. Harding, Ronnie, and Anna could not be saved. But Alex? He didn't seem to care. Looking back, I can see that my friend was lost in whatever thoughts plagued him, so lost that he didn't notice reality disintegrating around him. And I suppose the black beau wanted him for that very reason. It feeds despair and cruelty into our minds. It fuels blackened thoughts that lie dormant in there. "In the garden," his father said. Alex cried. And I heard the sound of multiple footsteps wading ever closer. Meanwhile, I was quietly inching the gate open. And then the wading ceased. "Bye, Charlie," Alex whispered. A scuffle commenced, too darkened for me to distinguish. But I could hear Alex choking, much as Anna had. I knew that the beau would take him too. I fumbled in my pocket for my keys, crying inwardly as I heard Alex's cries subside. I thrust them into the lock, pushing the door open. And as I turned to close it behind me, the light from our front hallway illuminated the exterior of my house. Just beyond the gate, I could see them. Alex, Ronnie, Anna, and Mr. Harding. Standing four abreast. Heads transformed into ghoulish, wide-mouthed monstrosities. I slammed the door, locking it, and turning to see two fully faced, crying parents running towards me. I left that town long ago, as most do. My parents moved there in '87, so they had never seen nor heard of the Black Beau. And that's why I don't blame them for what happened. We would later learn about the ominous black rainbow from the real estate agent who sold the house to us. A little old man named Arnold, a man who had fled town with others as the beau formed on that day in 2003. My father pinned him against a wall until he spilled all of his secrets. "Yes. I knew about it," he said. 83. 63. 43. It shows every 20 years. But you wouldn't have believed me. Nobody believes it until they see it for themselves. "Yeah, well, you could have not sold the house to us." My father screamed. "This is my life, Mr. Carlson. My home. I have to make a living. And is the ugliness really that bad? It only lasts for 7 days every 20 years. The rest of the time? This is the most beautiful town in the world. A slice of paradise by the sea," he said. "Why would you stay here? Why would anyone?" My father cried. "Because we know not to drink it," he said. "Just don't drink it, and everything will be okay. The storm passes. It always passes." But that answer always pains me. My father asked the right question. Why would some stay? Perhaps they've come to believe the beau's lies. Perhaps that place is doomed to repeat its cycle. And I know that, any day now, the black rainbow will return.